All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello and welcome. I want to launch a quick poll because I'm very interested to see and to know if you can see my slides and if you can hear me. So if you can, that would be great. Oh, fantastic. So the majority of you, all of you that have voted have said, yes, you can hear me and you can see me. 6% are saying you can't hear me or you can't see the slides. What I would recommend, because 94% of you can, is just to log out and log back in. But I do want to make you aware of the fact that we have been encountering some problems with Citrix and with the GoToWebinar platform in the last couple of days. So, in the event that you are unable to hear me, please do send a chat. So, with that, let me again welcome you and thank you for joining our DASA Master Series webinar for May. My name is Deborah Burton, and I am the Channel Marketing Manager at ITpreneurs during the day, but I also am the DASA Marketing Lead, and it's my pleasure to be here with Rick Fahrenhorst, who is our DevOps thought leader at Xavia and also the lead author of our DASA training. So we're really pleased to have you join us for this webinar because what we want to do is share with you a bit about the DevOps Agile Skills Association, or as we like to call her, DASA. And then Rick is going to actually give you a really comprehensive overview of the DASA DevOps competence model and qualification program. And I can even share with you what's happening on our master webinar series for June. And not to worry, there'll be time for questions and answers at the end. So, I just want to take a moment to introduce you. You may have, I hope most of you had the opportunity to join us at our global launch event that we had last month. But for those of you that did not, I just want to share with you a little bit about the DevOps Agile Skills Association. It's an independent, open association that's really whose objective is making sure that there's a set of open global initiative that we are working to develop DevOps competencies that will also benefit individuals and teams and organizations. And we do this by really focusing and offering thought leadership as well as practical guidance for competence development. And that's what we're going to focus on in this presentation, really spending some time talking about the DASA DevOps competence model and the qualification program that goes along with that. But before I actually turn it over to Rick, I would like to just launch a couple of poll questions because we're very, very interested in also knowing a little bit about you. So it would be great if you could share with us what your experience is with DevOps. Are you a DevOps guru? Are you an expert in Agile Scrum? Or do you have experience with both Agile and DevOps? Do you know a bit about DevOps, but the reason you're joining us today is you want to know more? Or are you kind of brand new and you have no experience with DevOps or with Agile? So I see that most of you have been very generous in voting and letting us know. I'm going to give you one more second for those of you that are making the decision. Oh, excellent. Thank you for that. Let me share the results. So So, Rick, it looks like we're not joined by any gurus this afternoon. We did have a few in our morning session today, but we have kind of an even break of people that have experience with both DevOps and Agile, as well as folks that know a bit but want to know more. So, I'm really pleased to have you here. And for those of you that have no experience with DevOps and Agile, this is a great place to learn more about DevOps, as well as learn more about well, what we see in terms of our DevOps principles and the curriculum that we put together in our competence model. So I'm going to close the results. I have one more slide for you, poll, I should say. And the other question that we have is, what's your interest in DevOps? Do you have responsibility for it within your organization, or do you have a DASA DevOps team that you are in charge of? So you want to understand more, or is it more so just learning more about the competence and qualification model of DASA? Or are you just a bit curious and interested to kind of figure out what is this? What's this buzz I'm hearing in the market about this DASA, this DevOps Agile Skills Association? Okay, great. Thank you so much for voting. Let me share these results. So 21% of you are actually responsible for DevOps in your company. So great. Really pleased to have you here, as well as the folks that want to understand how DASA DevOps can work and help your teams that you're managing. And I see that more than 50% of you really want to learn more about the competence and qualification scheme. And so you're absolutely in the right place today. And I feel assured that at the end of this presentation, you will certainly know much more about DASA and our competence model. Now, before I turn it over to Rick, I do want to take an opportunity to give you a little bit more detail about his background. So, Rick has a PhD in software engineering, and he has more than 10 years' experience in the business IT domain. He guides organizations and individuals in making IT simpler, better, and of higher quality. Rick is a DevOps thought leader at Zabia and a member of the editorial board of DASA. He has been instrumental in helping define the core foundations of DASA that include the set of DevOps principle that at DASA we live by, and by the competence framework that is the basis for professionalizing DevOps knowledge and skills. So Rick, I just want to thank you for joining us today, and I'm going to turn the presentation over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Deborah. Am I audible like this? Is it good?
Yeah, you sound perfect. Very good.
Great. Let me know if Citrix and GoToWebinar are hurting us there. But this morning it went okay as well. Well, thanks for joining, all of you. Looking forward to tell you a bit on DASA and what we are doing with DASA, or what our intent is. And to start off, I made this slide to explain to you why we feel it is so important DevOps Agile skills and knowledge, because DevOps is quite hot in the market. The industry has decided already that it will be huge in terms of related job titles in the future. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have a solid understanding of what it actually entails and what it doesn't. And my primary motivation for being one of the drivers behind DASA is to make sure that we do it in the correct way, that we represent DASA as an open initiative to build a DevOps profession, to basically build on all the best practices and the knowledge that is already around in many organizations and by many lessons learned, and to make sure that there's a more comprehensive and holistic frame of reference, basically to build organizations of higher quality and with higher quality IT. That is the main drive behind this all. And for this we need to work on our profession, like in many other IT functions. The DevOps profession needs some clarity and some professionalization. this is the main motivation for the DevOps Agile Skills Association. You see this back in this slide where we have highlighted the broader purpose of DASA. We aim at a number of things. Most important are the knowledge and skills framework that we have captured in a set of principles that organizations and individuals have to live by to conduct DevOps in a proper way, according to our vision. And we, with the DASA platform, try to build interest and awareness and spread the word to make this really an open community-based movement. And based on all the community input from also you guys, we can ensure that the quality of the overall impact we have at organizations is growing further. Instead of that it becomes something of a hype that some tool vendors or technology firms use to sell more of their products. Not saying that those products are not good, of course, but DevOps stands for much more than this, as we will see shortly. So I'm very keen on creating this community, and through those webinars we are trying to spread the word and also gain a lot of traction in the community. A lot of people like to be a forerunner member for DASA and want to contribute in all kinds of ways, like courseware development. And that's great to see. So I'm quite proud on that effect already, but we're still at the early stages of DASA because we had a launch webinar just 1 month ago. In this adventure so far, we started by building a competence framework. I will tell more about it in a minute. And based on that competence framework, we came to a qualification scheme and a number of trainings that, of which one of them has been released last week, and the first classes have been scheduled already. I will also tell you more today on what is the content of this first course. Let me explain a little bit on what happened over the past few months, because it is not a process in which people like me and my colleagues simply went to a room and invented from scratch a new thing that we call the DevOps training or DevOps competence framework. We really looked at the body of knowledge that is already there, which is huge. We are inspired by many best practices and gurus from the Agile and Lean community, for example. So for the careful observer, you can recognize some of the books lying there on the left image. And we really cataloged everything and tried to be as comprehensive as possible in understanding what are now in 2016 the best practices and the principles that people live by and that seem to work in practice. Then we plotted everything on various topics, subtopics, and tried to determine a holistic approach to what is needed for making DevOps work in practice. So not only identifying what it entails, but also making sure that the proper practices are highlighted also in the training materials. The DevOps Fundamentals training is the first one that came out. It was released last week. The syllabus can be downloaded. The screenshot of it is shown here at the right. But through this, in this process, we also started with arriving at a competence framework where we try to include all the main knowledge and skill areas that DevOps organizations and individuals need to invest in. And those knowledge and skill areas basically map quite well on the 6 principles that according to us gives a good impression on how high-performance IT organizations should organize themselves. What is really important in the current age of digital transformation and in a world where IT can really be a differentiator, where you need to use IT as a strategic means to literally survive. And there can be startups all over the place, not only from Silicon Valley, but also in an attic nearby, where 2 students try to think of something cool, implement it, and disrupt your industry. These examples are plenty nowadays. How can you embrace yourself for this? How can you make sure as a more traditional organization in retail, in finance, in basically all sectors to become innovative and a fast mover yourself? There are various ways to do this, but what all those successful organizations have in common is that they're definitely in a different culture. And for us, DevOps is really about another way of doing building your organization and running it. And not only IT, but especially also your IT organization. So no more silos, manual handovers, and the like. Real collaboration, autonomy, mastery, and purpose for the people, and making sure that innovation and bring business value live as soon as possible are keywords here. This is what you can see if you look at those 6 principles. Quickly highlighting them all one by one. If you look at the first one, it's key to focus on on the customers, so putting them central in your thinking and in your actions. So it means also releasing minimal viable products, like is quite well known from the lean startup way of thinking. Pivot strategy if it feels that your customers would like other type of products or different features, and make yourself a more versatile, more agile organization that adapts to these new dynamics instead of being the mammoth tanker that is going steady on one course, but realizes too late that well, the context in which it operates is completely different nowadays. But then you're too late basically to be surviving. And many, especially in the Netherlands where I live, many retail organizations lately came into the news because they simply found out too late. And this is one of the drivers for investing in a DevOps organization to really prevent this kind of scenarios. Well, related to this is that you need to really create with the end in mind. You start building product-based organizations where product thinking is key and not so much process-oriented way of working is key. This means that instead of having a long chains of various teams that together create something where roles and responsibilities are shattered and basically nobody oversees the complete process anymore, you go to a much more dynamic organization where feature teams are organized, which become end-to-end responsible, which is also the third principle. They can be made accountable for a specific piece of business value, and they really remain responsible also after that piece of software, for example, is brought into production and brought live, because there can all kinds of feedback, evolution of the product, new versions are needed. This is not something that a maintenance department, for example, should handle. No, this is also part of the life cycle of the product, and throughout the whole life cycle of the product, this team is responsible. This is a quite disruptive way of thinking compared to how traditional IT organizations are organized, but it's crucial to understanding a DevOps culture. It also means that those teams, to be able to do this, need to have much more skills and knowledge available. So not every individual needs to be an expert in all of this, but on the team level, it's important that you broaden yourself in knowledge and skills. And we will see back in the competence framework in a minute why this is so important and why you have to invest in broader shaped profiles. We call this T-shaped profiles. Of course, they can be an experienced level, an expert level on one or more topics, but the upper part of the T, this bar, is where what is most important here. You need to have sufficient skills, not only on a business analysis part, for example, or on programming, but also on infrastructure programming, security, and related fields. Only then a team can fully autonomous work and deliver business value. And this allows less complexity, less dependencies between teams, and much faster moving organizations that produce more, bring much more stuff into production, and create much more customer delight, basically. Well, the last two principles relate to this culture because they make sure that this way of thinking, this way of working is increased continuously, because the number 5 principle, continuous improvement, ensures that people in those teams feel a certain sense of continuously optimizing the way they work. They become really keen on spotting waste or redundancy or bottlenecks in some process, and they try to fix it as much as they can. It also means a culture where you experiment, and where you try to reinvent yourself over and over again, where you try to optimize things. And it means also failing sometimes and learning from this. This experimentation culture is something that you don't create overnight, and you also need quite a lot of help from the leadership, from management to arrive there. But if organizations want to invest in DevOps, then on all levels in the organization you need to do this. So different management styles are needed. And if you get the empowerment to work like this, great things can happen. We see this in practice all over the place now. It's also a lot related to how startups become so successful nowadays. Many IT startups work like this. The sixth principle relates to continuous improvement, because eliminating waste nowadays can be much supported by automation. And automation is something that you can apply on many levels in the food chain. Especially in the software delivery lifecycle, you can nowadays use smart techniques and technology to automate your whole delivery, deployment, test, and release process. But also when you look at the operations side, the infrastructure and provisioning part, nowadays you can invest nicely in public or private cloud solutions, platforms, and also the container-based infrastructure trend helps greatly to virtualize your infrastructure, treat it as code, and make sure that much less manual or no manual actions at all are needed to make sure that your IT is running the way you would like to have. It all leads to a culture where more time is left for the core tasks, which is understanding the market, talking to your customers, and creating great products. These 6 principles together, are a very important driver for what DASA stands for, and also how the trainings under the DASA flag have been developed. And this boils down to the following competence framework, because you can imagine that if you would like to live according to those 6 principles I just listed, this can be quite different than working in a more traditional IT organization. Especially in larger firms nowadays, you still see completely more silo-based and redundant process where people specialize in specific functions. You have architects, you have analysts, you have program managers, you have testers, you have system administrators, DBA experts, especially, etc. And of course, the knowledge and skills those functions represent remain crucial in a high-performance IT organization. Let there be no misunderstanding on this. The way, however, those competences are bundled and the way you build your organization, so the operating model, is quite different. So the fully autonomous teams need to be able to have knowledge and skills on all these axes that are listed here. 8 knowledge areas and 4 skill areas we have identified to be crucial. And a careful observer can see that there is, especially in the red column here, no rocket science going on. There are no completely new levels of expertise required. It's just important to understand that the combination of those knowledge areas is what is lacking in practice nowadays. Because it's not happening often that in a specific team or department in organizations, people are focusing on all those knowledge areas simultaneously. And this is what DevOps teams are doing, and this is what makes them so powerful. They do understand the whole end-to-end life cycle, and that goes from business value optimization to infrastructure engineering, and even includes the risk, security, and compliance mindset. And for the skills, I will briefly highlight in a minute, it's equally important to invest in this, to continue to create and spread this culture and this new way of working. So by outlining those knowledge and skill areas one by one, the following table helps. Please don't see it as a definition per se. So keywords are listed here to highlight the most important elements we would like to highlight, to give you an understanding of the scope and the depth of this model. Business value optimization, to start with, is really about understanding your customers, their needs, also the whole markets in which you operate as a business, and be proactive in the interaction with those markets and customers, to understand them, to know how they behave, what they would need from your organization, all to understand which kind of products and services you need to come up with to add value, to have to basically position yourself and create your ticket for existence in the future. And these elements need to really be lived by a DevOps team, because otherwise it is unclear how those hardworking professionals, for what those hardworking professionals are actually working. So we cut the chain dramatically. We lower we decrease the distance between IT specialists and the end users they work for by creating teams who have direct access and understanding of what their markets require. This is what business value optimization stands for, and it relates also to the business analysis part, because analysis skills understand what is functionally but also non-functionally required for your products and services is of course key to knowing what you should do. Non-functional requirements are typically also called quality requirements, so you could think of performance, usability, scalability, and those non-functional requirements that are quite important to know what kind of products or apps nowadays people would like to have. If you have this kind of information and skills embedded in your team, you of course need to be good in making great designs for this as well. What we typically in our IT discipline doing various types of architectures and detailed designs. Well, for DevOps it's important that there is sufficient architecture design knowledge and skills. We don't differentiate between them. What is important is that there's always a good fit between the existing and the to-be situation, that proper designs of the overall landscape and product portfolio is made, and that you apply contemporary patterns and styles to do this. In IT you see that nowadays completely different and innovative architecture styles are getting more dominant that help map your IT landscape to a much more versatile and agile organizational model. So this helps to get away from the monolithic and also complex intertwined IT landscapes that are hurting quite a few organizations nowadays. How to make sure that you create also autonomous IT functions, for example. This is where architecture design plays a crucial role. Of course, mastery in software engineering, programming, is another knowledge area that is really important for a DevOps team to actually build great stuff and to make sure that all the ideas are translated in something tangible. That means also that you treat everything as code as much as possible, also the infrastructure side. Because nowadays the way we deal with infrastructure is basically not so much different from software code. And data management is important here, because the whole data science and analytics upswing we see helps in creating data-driven enterprises. Data-driven enterprises are organizations that base their decisions on informed data from, for example, customers or competitors, and this feedback is important for them. So having proper data management styles and implementing this in right products is key as well. Well, the following 2-3 knowledge areas in this list focus on how to bring this product that you programmed nicely into production with as little problems and as automated as possible. Continuous delivery is a discipline that focuses on exactly this. It helps automating the whole software delivery lifecycle to make sure that done is live is actually a credo that comes with it. To make sure that when you developed a new piece of software, a new feature, that you can really put it in production at the same moment, or at least in an automated way. And if it's failing, you know what is the reason for this, and you can help solving that problem. This enormously contributes to waste in organizations, because it typically can take weeks or months before a new feature is brought live into production, because of all the silos and manual overheads that is created in bigger firms especially. So continuous delivery skills to make sure that you create a runway for your applications to go live as soon as possible is crucial. Infrastructure engineering relates to this as well, because you don't want to be delayed by an operations department that says, well, here you can make a ticket and we'll come back to you in 3 weeks, for example. You have a server where you can deploy your application on. This is not this is not possible anymore. Simply, in 2016 and already years ago, it was possible to create all kinds of virtualization and modern infrastructure based on cloud and containers. And this is getting much more traction nowadays, and the solutions become simpler and simpler. But the DevOps team needs to understand what is possible and how to make sure that their systems will land safely on this runway, which have an underlying virtual infrastructure that is scalable, self-healing, and simply working well, as smoothly as power from the power plug, basically. Well, test specification and security risk compliance are a different type of knowledge areas. Both are very important. Test specifications applies to understanding what you need to test, what kind of products you need to build. In typical organizations, developers write code and other people called testers test that code. Well, that is really not a smart thing to do. Test engineering and test specification means that DevOps team members design upfront how a product or service should behave, write their test cases, and then start programming so that each time when a piece of code is finished, it can be immediately tested against those test cases. And then testing doesn't become an afterthought anymore. It is ingrained in the whole process, which further improves the quality of the products you release. And after all, we all do this to create better products faster and create customer delight. Well, the security risk and compliance part is important to ensure that, especially nowadays where IT is instrumental for growth, the organizations and the products and services released, for example, a new app on your iPhone, it does need to comply to certain rules and regulations, and end users need to be guaranteed that, for example, privacy on their data that is used is covered. So those non-functional requirements and governance needs to be something that knowledge should be in the team as well. So we really feel that the combination of those areas is a very thorough coverage of what effective DevOps teams in practice should understand and act according to. If you combine this with the skills, then you get a combination. If you look at those 4 elements, you could say that the first 3 focus on respectively a personal, team, and organizational level. Courage, for example, is really about an individual who works in a culture or helps build a culture in organizations where proactivity, reflection, trust, experimentation are keywords, and it's really stimulated to try out new things. Only then you can get your organization in a fast-forward stage. You can stimulate innovation and create new products and services. So this courage is something to really advocate the step from the old world into the new way of working, a new world. And DevOps for us is an umbrella term that helps understanding this new way of working. Team building is important, as you can imagine, based on the previous discussion. To create fully autonomous teams that are end-to-end responsible, you need to collaborate and communicate effectively in those teams, and you need mutual accountability between the team members. But the whole DevOps transformation will not work if there's not also a DevOps leadership role in place, which means that the leadership team in the organization, the management, higher and lower management layers need to facilitate teams to this high performance in this culture, instead of blocking them or trying to manage them to death. So this is a very important part that we foresee is getting a bottleneck in many transformations we see in practice happening now, but therefore also many management teams and leadership teams are following DevOps trainings and boot camps to make sure that they are not basically, after investing quite a lot in the people and in the processes, trying to destroy it again by their way of working and their old management styles. That's the short summary. And all 3 levels, individual, team, and management layers, you need a sense and strive for continuous improvement. This is the fourth skill area that we think is very important to highlight. It's directly linked to one of the core principles I mentioned. This Kaizen mindset, which stems from Lean, is important to have in mind for all the people working in DevOps. And it can spread like fire, and people can make others enthusiastic and address certain impediments and address other blocking factors if they see that quality and continued improvement is not key in your organization. Well, if you plot this on the following maturity model, you see the following. You see here and in later slides that we have 12 axes in this model because there are 8 and plus 4 areas we cover in terms of contents, and we have a number of maturity levels. And what DASA aims for is trying to advance and mature the whole discipline, which means that we want to provide a broad baseline to bring everybody at least to a competent or provisioned level in all aspects, especially on the team. You cannot differentiate there. You need to understand and master all things sufficiently. After that, there is room for further specialization to get into an expert level. So some trainings DASA is releasing soon will focus on this number 4 level. The master level is something that we feel is out of scope for trainings per se, because this is something you only gain by practicing it in the right way. But by investing properly in the solid common frame of reference, we increase the chances that more and more people will get through the higher levels and spread the word themselves, and also help updating and expanding our body of knowledge, of course, that DASA is constitutionalizing here. It leads to the following qualification program. As you see, we really intentionally try to provide a broad baseline for everybody interested in this kind of new style high-performance IT organizations that I highlighted earlier. So the DevOps Fundamentals is meant as a training of 3 days that does exactly this. Explains all the elements, all the ingredients needed to start building such an organization or working in such a team, and what you should do and know as an individual, as an IT professional in the new world, so to say. It's followed by a practitioner course which focuses much more on the best practices and the hands-on expert aspects. And to gain a level 4 maturity level, we offer a number of modules at the moment who specialize further, where the left one, Enable and Scale, focuses much more on building scalable DevOps organizations and what kind of preconditions need to be shaped there, where the other 2 focus on specific parts of the knowledge areas. Specify and Verify focus a bit more on the analysis part, the business analysis and the test specification side, and Create and Deliver focus more on building nice software products and get them into production. Well, here you see the same spider web, but now with the names attached of the 12 areas I discussed. You see that the DevOps Fundamentals course is plotted on all aspects and lead to the level 2 qualification on all of them, which is an important thing to realize. That is also the rationale for having such a broad and a quite comprehensive training. I'm quite proud that we were able to put that many best practices and content in the training. That also means that the target audience for this training is quite broad. You see that all kinds of traditional IT professionals, also several IT functions listed here, should appeal to this training, knowing perhaps that in a few years not many functions like this will exist anymore. But the roles and responsibilities those functions represent now, they remain important because they map quite nicely on the 12 areas I explained. But in a DevOps organization, you have not that many different roles anymore. You have high-performance teams. That is the key takeaway here. Of course, if people are already familiar, like some of you, Deborah found this out in the poll earlier, if some of you have some expertise in Agile, Scrum, or Lean, or IT service management, some familiar things will come by, of course, in the DevOps Fundamentals course. But you will also learn probably a few new things and understand how the various best practices can be a powerful thing combined. That's our intent with this training. And it helps contributing to a large international standard and common frame of reference to build further maturity on. Well, the slides will be shared, so for sake of time, I will not talk about the learning objectives in detail, but we'll see in a minute a sneak preview of what is in this 3-day course to give you an idea what is covered. This is probably the best slide to tackle this. In the 3-day format, we have defined, you see after a DevOps introduction and a short that there are 5 core modules that approach DevOps in this holistic way by offering 5 perspectives. It's culture, organization, processes, automation, and measurement and improvement. And this really helps to not only see DevOps as an IT party from a tool or technology point of view, or from really only a people or organizational culture point of view, but a combined viewpoint that helps understand how to invest in people, how to let them work together, what kind of organizational and operating model you need, and of course also what kind of IT best practices from automation you could use to really get things fast forward. That combination is powerful, and that makes this a very interesting module, to be honest. It is intended for active, although we have to cover quite a few topics. There are all kinds of exercises also in the course book built and points for further reading. So it's really a broad basis that we can build in the community. And the exam in ensuring that everybody has a solid understanding of the matter, of course. Here, for further reading, it's nice to see how those elements in the various modules are mapped, what is discussed and explained. I will not go into details at the moment, but you would easily see and agree with me, I think, that it's quite a lot of ground we cover here. It will be challenging even for experienced trainers to make sure that they don't go into depth and in storytelling mode for all the topics, because then it will not be a 3-day course but a 7-day course, I assume. But it shows the richness of the I think we built, and that's something we love to share with you, and we love to get feedback from you on to expand this further as a community. So this was my part, and I hope to shed some light on what DASA is doing, what it represents, and what it could mean for you. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them in a minute, and Deborah, you can take over from here, I guess.
Yeah, well, thank you, Rick. Thank you for that very comprehensive overview of our competence model as well as our qualification scheme. And yeah, we do want to take some questions. The good news is we have some extra time. But before we do the questions, I promised you that I would let you know about our next upcoming DASA Master Series. As you may know, we've been running a number of different informational thought leadership type of webinars. We do 30-minute deep dive webinars. We did one last week, and we did one the week before. I also do a Go DASA membership, 30-minute membership webinar that provides a little insight to you in terms of how you can participate and become a member. But I'm really super excited that we're going to have our next master series, which is going to take place on Tuesday, June 28th. And it's going to be on DevOps principles and practices, a leadership perspective. And, you hear a lot of talk about how leadership is really important when you're going in and looking at your IT transformational journeys and how DevOps can play a role in that. So our guest presenter is going to be Troy DeMolin, who is the Vice President of Research and Product Development at Pink Elephant. And he's really going to focus on developing why it's important to develop the right skills and why that's key when you're looking at the leadership perspective in moving toward DevOps. So I just want to take a moment to share that with you. But now I'd like to go back to questions, and I'd ask all of you that have questions to please send me a chat. I've been chatting with some of you already. Some of the questions that you asked me, where did you receive a copy of these slides? The answer is yes. I do have a couple more questions, and I'll try to get to as many as possible. The first question, Rick, is how popular really is DevOps right now? You mentioned it was hot early in your presentation. Is it really smoking hot?
Yeah, it's maybe almost too hot, I would say, because it has the risk of that it is attached as an adjective to basically every noun and IT-related noun that comes by. So all tool vendors and technology product companies use it in their marketing nowadays, and that might give focus especially on IT and on technology drivenness that I dislike personally. And what I tried to convey earlier, if you look at the DASA competence framework and what we stand for in terms of really changing the way organizations operate and use IT as a strategic differentiator, DevOps is key for arriving there, not as a framework or as a tool, or as a function that people can use. Now that everybody is only a DevOps engineer. No, it stands for culture where you work in a much more effective and more fun way, I would say, to really make a difference. And in that sense, if you look at organizations that are investing in this now, some startups, but also big retail organizations, large international banks, are completely rebuilding their organization from within the walls, I would say. They embed this startup engineering culture. They invest in talented IT professionals. Engineering skills become sexy again, so that's good news for all IT specialists listening to this call. And instead of something that was somewhere hidden in the basement of organizations in the past, is now suddenly the most important and strategic asset for firms. And DevOps is a leading umbrella term for me to help get this to spread this vision. And therefore we're only, while it is already hot in the community for quite some years, we're only in the early stages of its popularity, I would say. But everybody that is understanding what it could mean for their business and its survival is very enthusiastic. That's why DASA gained so many traction already. So yes, it's hot, but we're just starting, I would say.
Yeah, and I'd like to just add my 2 cents to that. It's been an amazing journey in the short period of time that we've announced this universal qualification program, and the fact that it's really an open community, open source, so that all members can participate and can share their learnings and help improve upon it. And I think the real key there is open. So we really are trying to work to ensure that we bring the most comprehensive qualification scheme out and available. And Pam asked me a question about, how can you become a trainer for this material? Well, right now there are two courseware providers for training, and that is Quint Wellington Redwood and also ITpreneurs. We are, as you can imagine, also working with other organizations that will become courseware providers. We will post that information on our website so that if you're interested in becoming a trainer, if you go to the DASA website, you'll be able to find that information out. So we'll be posting that, and then you can contact the courseware provider, and then they will provide you the training. There are some train-the-trainer sessions that are being offered out there. I know ITpreneurs, for one, because it's the organization that I represent as well. We are having a series of train-the-trainers that if you go to the ITpreneurs website, www.itpreneurs.com, you can see the list of upcoming train-the-trainer programs that we have. And these train-the-trainer programs are free, as well as we provide an instructor package and an exam voucher to get you up to speed quickly with the training material. I have a question for you, Rick, from David. He wants to know, when will the practitioner and expert level courses be made available?
The current timeline says that at least a practitioner, but also one of the expert modules will see the light of day this year, this calendar year. But it also, to be honest, depends a little bit on the feedback from the field and the community, based on also the fundamentals course that has been released, and the overlap and the how we build on top of that fundamentals course for the practitioner one, because we really aim for high quality here, and we really want to eat our own dog food. Really feedback and continue to improve the products we release under DASA's flag is core here. So we expect now feedback to be acquired in the coming weeks and months for the fundamentals course, and in parallel we already started building the courseware for the practitioner course, which looks awesome as well. So I expect a release somewhere at the end of the summer for the practitioner course, which leaves the last few months of the year for really focusing on the expert modules as well. And that means that in the first 9 months of DASA's life, that we already offer quite a comprehensive palette of training, so that helps organizations also in a tailor-made way to invest in competence development, because this all is contributing to redoing your organization and also refueling your IT workforce and non-IT workforce as well, by the way, in creating these high-performance organizations, which means talent management is an important ingredient here. And the DASA training portfolio is aimed for contributing greatly to this. And it's extendable as well, so it means that organizations are, and all the DASA Forerunner members are asked to help us with mapping existing training content they already have on our competence framework and qualification scheme model, which helps to trace and map existing knowledge and skills around to a more uniform format, which means that not only the DASA trainings that are listed and discussed in this webinar will be released, hopefully sooner than later. We also see many traces to existing content from all kinds of providers that we can map to illustrate how it contributes to advancing knowledge and skills in our model.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a number of questions here about how to become a member of DASA. And there are various ways that you can participate in DASA. You can become a forerunner organization, as Rick mentioned. And what the forerunners do, we have right now over 40 forerunner organizations that are helping promote DASA in the market, are looking and being part of our content review boards, on our editorial teams, on our advisory teams, and really sharing their knowledge as thought leaders. And they're coming from industry, software companies, IT training companies, consulting organizations, and they're all coming together to make sure that we build a very strong universal program toward our competence model. So you can certainly become a DASA forerunner. The way to do that, and I'll send you my contact details in a moment, is just to send me an email, and I will send you a document, which is a memorandum of understanding. You just need to fill that in, and then we will get that signed off and returned to you. And then I will include you into our DASA Forerunner communication. But if you're out there and you have some courseware that you've already developed internally and you're interested in becoming a courseware provider, we'll be able to provide you information on what you need to do with that, and how you become a courseware provider. If you're interested again in becoming a training partner, you can work with one of the existing courseware providers, and then they will get you trained and up to speed with their courseware that you can deliver. We have an application form for that. But if you're also more interested in making, you can make a contribution by becoming a member of one of our working groups, or you can become a member of one of our content review teams. And that will actually help quite a bit in ensuring that we are getting as much information, as much knowledge, as much sharing as possible as we move our portfolio forward. So I just wanted to share that with you. And again, you will be receiving these slides, as well as I'll send you the links so that if you want to get access to the various membership options, you can. Also, at the end of this, there's a short survey. We'd appreciate it if you could fill it out. And one of the survey questions is, what area of membership are you interested in? So if you fill that out, then I'll know what to send back to you, and I'll be happy, more than happy to do that. So I hope that answered the questions around membership in DASA. In terms of cost for the certification classes, John, I don't have that information to share with you at this time. I'm getting some questions around the exam institutes. Rick, do you have any updated information for us with that?
Yes, I know that at least 2 exam institutes have agreed to work with DASA in hosting the exams and the whole process around it. So we are in the process of finalizing the exam questions and making sure that they are in the proper way incorporated in those QA processes and those institutions. And that's an important part of the foundation we're building here, that not only training providers can deliver the training, but individuals, the participants of those trainings, can also do the exam and have the option to choose the exam institute, or have all various online ways to test if they have gained sufficient understanding and knowledge of the contents. And I think the exact date, I don't know, but the intent is that in a month from now, at the end of June at the latest, we have finalized this part. So there will be some trainings in the coming weeks of which the participants will have to wait a few weeks with actually doing the exam, taking the exam. But starting this summer, this all should be arranged, so people can already reserve their seats, and many in-house training programs and organizations have contacted us already for training delivery, including the exams, because it adds credibility to the foundation and the common frame of reference we built, of course, that everybody is on the same page. So it's an important part, and it's in the final stages, to say like this.
Yeah, absolutely. We're well aware that many of our training partner and consulting partners want to be in a position to have their instructors and their teams trained and up to speed, and also get their courses scheduled and get them on their curriculum, on their course curriculum as soon as possible. So yeah, we're doing everything possible to make sure that that's all ready and you're ready to roll. I do have a question I think is I'd like you to answer. It's from another David number 2. Are the training and certifications aimed to individuals and organizations, or only individuals?
For the fundamentals course, we have so far come up with individual certification, but we what I would advise organizations and team leaders is to really focus on building a culture where high performance teams are working. So it makes little sense to just randomly provide or offer trainings to individuals alone and let them having a certificate for what they are taught in the classroom, but really think of implement this new way of working in your organization. And this entails much more than just training. The training is intended to provide a common frame of reference and trigger people to invest in this journey themselves. And if they advance further and further in the maturity index, they will become advocates and gurus in practice themselves and stimulate others to work in a certain way. And this is the only way you can create such a culture. And managers and leaders need to stimulate this. Ideally, transformation programs I advocate invest immediately in all layers of the organization in trainings, but also in a different way of working. But you can start small, but then you have to make sure that you combine individual trainings with some kind of autonomy and empowerment to those people to start building something new, a new way of working in your organization, instead of keeping it as it is and thinking that a training will solve the way of working. That will never happen, of course.
Right. Okay, well, there are a few more questions, and I apologize. We're out of time. I thank you for your interest, and I really thank you for taking the time to join us today. And I hope that you will consider joining us on this journey. It's really exciting, and I think having a global community working to have a good qualification scheme out there really is going to help empower IT transformation. So, Rick, thank you so much for your very comprehensive presentation today. And you'll be hearing back from us shortly. Please stay close and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
Yeah. Bye-bye.